Graham's sister was just installed as senator of South Carolina following the death of her war criminal brother. Great democracy you got there, America. What does it say about American democracy that the only way we can get rid of really powerful politicians like Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Jim Clyburn, and many others is simply by waiting until they die? And now America is stuck having Lindsey Graham's sister as senator because she definitely can hold that seat for life if she chooses to. That Senate seat has been held by only 2 people over the course of the last 70 years. Now do you guys see why Americans cheer when politicians die? It's the only way we can get them out of power. In this democracy, you can predict who's going to win an election with almost certainty based on who raises the most money. This is a capitalist dictatorship. So if you're an incumbent like Lindsey Graham, who does the bidding of the war machine, the military-industrial complex, and the Epstein class, they will fund you for the rest of your life and make sure you are never defeated. This is the complete garbage system that we have in the United States. Meanwhile, American politicians believe they have the standing to critique Russia, China, Iran, and other countries for not being democratic.
What's poppin'? My friends, my family, we are back again. Friday, Nick at Prime Time. You guys know I'm always in the lab cooking. And I was watching Donald Trump's speech last night, and I was cracking up laughing the entire time. It was essentially Donald Trump giving what I call the most pathetic speech a United States president has ever given. It's China's fault that he's so unpopular. Listen to this.
The Chinese government sought to identify U.S. journalists who had reported negatively on the U.S. president and pay them large sums of money to write more negative articles about him, as many as they could, and they didn't care what they said. The Chinese government wanted U.S. president to lose the next election, and the reason they wanted me to lose is because they knew I was wise to them. Charged them billions and billions of dollars worth of tariffs and built the strongest military anywhere in the world.
Fam, you bankrupted your own farmers with these tariffs. Like, remember when you had to bail them out in your first administration? And the tariffs, by the way, did not hurt the average Chinese worker. You know who it hurt? It hurt Americans. They double dipped us. You had these massive regressive tariff policies by Donald Trump, where companies essentially pass the cost to the consumers. There's many studies that prove this to be the case. We know that corporate greed led to price gouging, which led to massive profits for these corporations. So then Donald Trump and his administration then gives a refund, not to the consumers, not to the American people who you guys already just grifted. He gave billions of dollars. How much was it again? Let me look at the exact amount. Tariff refund. You have $81 billion to corporations. So they double dipped. And meanwhile, they're selling this to MAGA boomers as if this was them getting China. Donald Trump was wise to China by imposing regressive taxes on the working class and charging them twice and saying goy slop that they feed them.
The reason they wanted me to lose is because they knew I was wise to them. Charged them billions and billions of dollars worth of tariffs and built the strongest military anywhere in the world. We have the strongest military anywhere in the world.
Can't even defeat
These are
Iran.
exact quotes from the CIA reporting.
So they're actually doing the same playbook all over again. But instead of pushing Russia, instead of it being Russiagate, this is Chinagate in order to fearmonger Fox News watching boomers. And they're really going to say this with a straight face, these MAGA Zionists. Donald Trump literally bragged, fam, about the fact that he was paid by Miriam Alderson and all these Zionist swamp monsters. And like, yeah, they pay me a lot of money. They help me get elected, so I do the bidding of Israel. I'm the best president that Israel ever had. Can you imagine the audacity of making these arguments that China and Russia are a threat to United States election integrity when we have an organization called AIPAC who openly brags about corrupting United States presidency? You had not the presidency, but the entire Congress, all of it, the entire politics. There was a video even of Donald Trump where he was decrying what he viewed as the collapse of the influence of the Israeli lobby. You guys remember that video? He's like, man, it's crazy, man. People used to be afraid to say anything about Israel. Now people, you got these progressives supporting Hamas. It's crazy. Just being a happy goy, reminiscing about the era where Americans was complete goy slaves to the state of Israel. We're saying stuff like Jewish supremacists own the media will get you called an anti-Semite. Where people like they fell for every single anti-Semitism hoax. This is what they want you to believe, that China is manipulating reporters in the United States to this like Donald Trump. That is his grand theory. This is the reality. I was talking to Rick Sanchez, the homie, and then I was explaining how they got Dana Bash, she doesn't even hide the fact that she's a Jewish supremacist. She doesn't even hide the fact that she don't even view Palestine as a state. She don't view them as a legitimate people. Just open Jewish supremacists on the air. Mark Levin calling for Israel to nuke Iran. But yeah, they want you to believe that China that is. Look at this. Oh yes, it's China buying our presidents, controlling Congress through lobbyists, and tricking Americans into war on behalf of China through mass media. Yeah, they're forcing all the politicians to go and touch the Great Wall of China, and then in a massive humiliation ritual for the states. This is the reality. Just one reason why they can't stand China, where it said if Israel, you had China put out a statement that said if Israel ever used a nuclear warhead, including in Iran, it will be the demise of Israel as a country. Sorry. Wait, look at it. Listen.
First of all, I want to tell the Israeli government and the Israeli leaders that the moment Israel uses a nuclear warhead against any other country, including against Iran, it will be the demise of Israel as a country.
Now you guys see why they want you to hate Israel, hate China, I mean. The same way they want you to hate North Korea, because North Korea never acknowledged Israel as a state. You see how these capitalists, they always blame everything on China? They was able to convince so many Americans, the suburban voting class, these Americans who are polled, saying they distrust China. We don't trust the Chinese Communist Party. This is the same tactic they've been using over and over and over again. You guys see, this is what they go to. This is what Sam Altman runs OpenAI. And they were saying the reason why Americans oppose data centers, the only reason why Americans oppose AI is because of Chinese propaganda. Like this is the intellectual brain rot of the capitalist class. This is why it does us no good to adopt their enemies as our enemies. It's wild when I see just normal goy slaves look at me like I'm crazy because I don't hate Russia because Dick Cheney said I should. Didn't you hear Sean Hannity tell you that China is evil? That Iran is evil? Their enemy is not our enemy. And it's crazy how throughout the generations they managed to convince peasants that these squabbles among the ruling class represents something that we should be invested in. Oh, don't worry, guys. We still have Kshama join us. She should be joining us here in a few minutes. You guys know I at least have to start a little bit early and cook a bit here. So Kshama still should be joining us. Here's Kevin O'Leary. You guys see how this is a go-to by the capitalist class? Sam Altman. I think that's how he says his name, from Open AI. Now you have Kevin O'Leary. All these capitalists who are destroying the quality of life for homeowners who live near data centers. Just like Donald Trump is blaming his massive unpopularity on China, Sam Altman is blaming China. Kevin O'Leary was attacking activists and organizations as being China proxies, China bought. He's been sued now. That's what you get. That's what your dumb ass get. 2 Utah nonprofits alleged they was defamed after the Shark Tank investor portrayed them as Chinese communist proxies on the network. They called Medea Benjamin and her organization Chinese CPC proxies. Don't you know that every dissent against the ruling class in the United States is due to the corrupting influence of China and Russia? Imagine being this stupid that you believe this. And the ruling class, they put this slop out because they know they're going to get that 20%. They only need to get their base. Once again, the Fox News watching boomers who are convinced that Xi Jinping is a threat to America. Let me make one thing clear as I bring Kshama Sawant in. We got a lot to discuss with my friend Kshama, who has a critical primary day coming up here very soon. So as they try to fearmonger over Russia and China to you guys, you must understand that the number one threat to global election security is who? The United States. Everything that the Epstein class accuses their enemies of is pure projection. There has never been a more destabilizing force for democracy worldwide than the United States. Dozens and dozens of regime change operations over the last few decades. Let me see if I can pull up one of the receipts. U.S. regime change. I didn't have to say, but I might as well show you guys. U.S. regime change operations. I wonder if I can find a list. Here it is. This is a quick way to find one. Here it is. I found the source. Look at this. This is the country. This is why geopolitics is everything. This is why you have to understand the crimes of this belligerent state. This is why people, when we originally laughed off Russiagate 10 years ago, the idea that it's other countries involved in election mailing. You have the Isaac Accords going on right now, where Israel is pushing fake news in Latin America and corrupting their election process. This is why I say many times before, and I'm going to bring our great friend Kshama Sawant in. We have the most important task of people who live in the empire. You guys have to understand that. We live in the heart of the global Epstein Zionist capitalist regime. I still maintain that there can't even be real existing socialism as long as U.S. hegemony stays intact. That's why a lot of these other countries have to make these hard decisions. They have to adjust to an imperialist, capitalist, global order. It is up to American revolutionaries to free the global population from the change of Western capital dominance and election meddling. And once we do that, once there's a revolution in the United States, I truly believe that will be the catalyst that will open up the global working class who has no choice but to submit to global Western capital. It's through an American revolution and overthrowing of the Western capitalist class that will help propel China into real socialism, where they don't have to navigate the global capitalist structure that has been set up. It is upon us. That's why I don't ever bow to nihilism. I'm destined to see this through so we can make this massive change. So let me introduce someone who is making this big fight and this big push. She's running in a jungle primary. Our friend running as an independent against Adam Smith. Welcome to RBN once again, Kshama Sawant. How you doing, my friend? Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Nick.
I have to get your thoughts on the speech. We got a lot of things we want to cover. Like, we're going to cover the gatekeeping class. We want to get your thoughts on current events, the cost of living. I've been doing a lot of research about the massive income inequality that we're seeing. We're going to discuss that later as well. But just on topic, since I was discussing Trump in the monologue, you have a very tough task of trying to overthrow a very powerful incumbent in an era where we're seeing the pendulum swing once again. Remember when people thought the Democrats was dead? I told you guys on the channel, like, bro, it's not over. It's only a matter of time for Donald Trump help save and rehabilitate the Democratic Party. And we're seeing the pendulum swing once again. It is our job to grab people off of that pendulum and not allow them to be sheep herded back into the two-party duopoly. So to start us off, Kshama, what is your message to the Trump people, to all these MAGA people, all these people who feel like they have to support Democrats in this time as they see Donald Trump whittle away the quality of life for the working class and plunge the world into global chaos? What is your message to these people? Thank you for joining us once again.
Thanks so much for having me, Nick. Really always a pleasure to be speaking with you. Yeah, I think what we've seen throughout the last 20, 30 years is that there's been an oscillation, between a Democratic presidency and a Democratic majority in the House and Senate, and a Republican presidency and a Republican majority in the House and Senate. And what have we seen at the end of those 20, 30, 40 years? We've seen the lives of tens of millions of Americans get harder and harder. We've seen a genocide, we've seen forever wars, and we're seeing both the Democratic and Republican parties presiding over this agenda, for the simple reason that both of them, despite whatever differences they might have between them, are representatives of the warmongering billionaire class. In other words, the warmongering billionaires and multimillionaires, in other words, the American capitalist class. And so a lot of the working class people, Nick, who voted for Trump, they have seen, they're feeling betrayed because, and not surprising, right? As you and I have said many times, Trump was always a con man. He's a multi-billionaire con man. But what happened was he exploited, and it's still happening, that process hasn't finished yet. He exploited the genuine anger that working people felt against the Democratic Party, but then channeled it towards yet another section of the political elite. And so now people who voted for Trump, a lot of working class people are thinking, well, where should I go? But going back to the Democratic Party that has failed them in the first place is not the answer. And that is why our campaign, Nick, is so crucial, because we're running as an independent anti-war socialist. And we are running on the basis of our whole record from the city council, where I was on the Seattle City Council for a decade, and we defeated the billionaires and multimillionaires again and again and again by uniting working class people on common issues like the minimum wage, like taxes on the rich. And so it's on the basis of that type of working class unity that we were able to win the nation's highest minimum wage, the Amazon tax that raises hundreds of millions of dollars for affordable housing every year, and unprecedented renters' rights, like a whole renters' bill of rights. We won all of this because of our class-based clarity that, yes, maybe the working class may have differences on this or that issue, but we need to unite on the issues that we do agree on. And that's a whole host of things. Because, at the end of the day, Nick, look at the opinion polls on every issue across the spectrum, whether it is the need for universal public health care, the opposition to any cuts on Medicare, Medicaid, and social assistance, like the tremendous support for all the social assistance programs, the demand that war spending be ended, the demand that we need funding for public schools and infrastructure, that we need decent jobs, that we need safe neighborhoods, all of these, I mean, the desire for all of these things, basically the building blocks of a decent society, that is shared across red, blue, and purple states. But what's missing is anybody, any leadership to fight for working class people. That's what's missing. That is why we are running for Congress, not to become team player in team genocide and team billionaires, but to shake up the US Congress, to actually elect a fighter for the working class.
Yeah, we have this amazing moment, this powerful moment where the American people are being united by their anti-Zionism. They're seeing their country being corrupted by a genocidal ideology. And they even lead to people questioning the system as a whole. I've seen right-wingers make some very surprising analysis about the corruption in our system ever since it was exposed about AIPAC. And I've seen right-wingers like, man, we got to unite with the lefties. Even we got to give up our love of the free market. Like, we got to give up the cultural. Like, I've seen people making these sacrifices because they realize what is at stake, and we are responsible for organizing the people. I explain many times on the channel, I joke about it, how I despise how like the DSA reformists, the people who are not ready to lead the people towards revolutionary change, they make excuses like the American people are not ready. Don't you know we got to spend more time shifting the Overton window to the left? The people are already on our side. I don't ever want to hear that term ever again. I hate the term Overton window. It broke a lot of these political science suburbanized brain, and they use it as an excuse to not call for revolutionary action. No, we got to shift over to window first. Fam, the American people are on our side. They want a third party. They're waiting to find someone to organize on. But Kshama, do you have any thoughts? I saw you on mute.
No, I was just thinking that actually there's so much unity on many of these issues, but we face a lot of I think what you can call as elite type of gatekeepers who decide that we are not, who, because they have their own reasons for not wanting to challenge the establishment, they sort of make these assertions that somehow the American people are not ready. But I was just thinking about what you said, which is the most important thing, which is that the opinion polls are showing that the majority of people are fed up with the Republican and the Democratic Party. I mean, at a time when Trump is deeply unpopular,
yes,
the Democratic Party is also deeply unpopular. I mean, what does it take to be more unpopular than Trump? It takes a party that has completely betrayed the working class. But it's our task as revolutionaries, Nick, to point out that that's not a surprise. The fact that the Democratic Party has betrayed the working class is not a surprise. It's not an aberration, because the Democratic Party is a party of the billionaire class. I mean, they were the party of the slaveholders, then they were the party of the Jim Crow era, and then later they became one of the main parties of the billionaire class. In other words, it has always represented the ruling class, and as has the Republican Party. But what's happening is that there are millions of people angry about the situation. I mean, I was just looking at these polls that came out earlier this month, Nick, about how much the cost of living crisis has exacerbated, and how much across the Republican Democratic sort of identification spectrum, how much that's common. Like, in February, 49% of Republican voters were saying that the economy was getting better. But now in this July poll, only 27% of them are saying that the economy is getting better. In other words, more and more Trump voters and other Republican voters are agreeing with many of the Democratic Party's base, which is that life is just getting harder for us. Half of American households are saying that they can't even afford groceries. Can you imagine? This is the richest nation in the history of humanity. And half of our households, it's insane, are saying they can't even afford groceries. So where did all the wealth go? I mean, you can look at the data from the Federal Reserve Bank. It shows that the wealthiest 1% of American households, they now own $55 trillion worth of wealth. That's where all the wealth went, which is to pad the pockets endlessly of the richest of the rich. And in fact, this has been an almost uninterrupted trend, especially since the pandemic, where working people have gone more and more into crisis, more and more into a precarious standard of living, and the rich are getting richer and richer and richer. That is the real story we have to capture here. And that is very much also connected with war and genocide, Nick, because what are we seeing? That, the $1 trillion every year that are going for war spending and for genocide and slaughter of the Palestinian people, the Lebanese, Yemenis, and Yemeni and Iraqi and Irani people. Like, where is all that money going? It is going in the hands of the war profiteers, which is
Absolutely.
practically every corporation. In other words, the whole billionaire and multimillionaire class, they profit from war and genocide. And where does that money come from in the first place? The vast majority of it comes from the taxpayer money, from American taxpayers, in a situation of regressive tax system. In other words, that's the full circle. We as wage earners, workers, get paid a fraction of the productivity and the wealth we create in the form of wages. We get a fraction of that in the form of wages. And then even within that measly amount of wages, we pay such a big proportion of our income in taxes. And then a lot of that goes for war and slaughter and genocide, and then back in the pockets of the same billionaires who robbed us in the first place by taking away the full share of our labor. So, that's the circle of the way the dollars move in the capitalist system. And that is why the only way of breaking that circle is for working class people. They get united and fight back. And that is why this campaign is so crucial, Nick. And, the primary date is on August 4th, because we are running. There's two reasons. One, we're running against an arch Zionist, Adam Smith. He's one of the, we should talk about him,
we're going to get to that.
It's very important. But it's not only that. It's, if we can win this election, Nick, it will be the first ever revolutionary socialist elected to the US Congress. This will be nothing short of a political earthquake. And that is the type of shakeup we need in Congress.
And how can you not want to be part of that movement? We're going to get to the gatekeeper class here very soon. There's a lot to discuss about their hideous motivations. But regarding the failures of the capitalist class and the structure that you're talking about, I want you guys to realize this is all systemic, because you read my mind. You guys all had the receipt ready, because I was about to bring up how the top 1% they now own more money than the entire middle class. That structure that they created just to make them look better while the Soviet Union was around. And after the collapse of the Soviet Union, they're like, we don't need this pesky middle class anymore. You guys see, they dismantled this illusion of a middle class that they have created in their society just to compete against the Soviet Union. They're actively trying to turn people into serfs. We are seeing consistent operations to shift wealth from the working class into the poor to the top 1%. We've seen it during COVID. I put up one of the receipts: $124 trillion wealth transfer. This is so systemic by the capitalist class. They have a term for it. They call it the boom bust cycle, Kshama. They say our system is so unstable. And people convince that capitalism is the best that we can do as humanity. They say our system is so chaotic, guys. There's something called boom bust cycle. They talk about in their economics class. I remember this. In school, they get their master's degree. Yeah, there's a boom bust cycle every 4 to 7 years. Our system crashed. And who do you guys think benefits? Every single time the system crashed, you have the top 1% who increased their wealth. They increased their wealth during COVID. They increased their wealth during 2008, where Barack Obama facilitated the largest wealth transfer from Black working families. This is one stat, by the way. The largest transfer of racial wealth from the Black working class to the rich white working class of all time happened under Barack Obama. And we've seen it again under COVID, under Biden. We're seeing it now with Donald Trump. The system is designed for that. And that's what we got to convince the American people. And we are winning them over. This is why you're seeing the newer generation that is overwhelmingly in support of socialism. This is why you see people who've been drilled with anti-communist, anti-socialist ideology their entire life actually starting to question this stuff now, because capitalism is inherently a destructive structure which will lead to mass wealth and income inequality. And we got to make that 100% clear to the working class. Anything you want to add before I move on, Sean? Once again, we got a lot to discuss.
Yeah, just another statistic I think that's useful to talk about: the massive crisis that is facing tens of millions of American families, while the rich are laughing all the way to their wealthy mansions, is the housing crisis and the rate of evictions. I mean, this just jogged my memory when you were saying that, since the COVID pandemic, the rich have actually gotten richer, and through that pandemic, like the disasters under capitalism actually are another a moment for the already rich to rob us
Yep,
even more and
lifestyle.
carry out like highway robbery. And one statistic of that, one dimension of that, is the rate of evictions that is happening to people across America, just the devastation across America, where you have a combined effect of jobs that don't pay enough, not having proper health care and spending thousands of dollars just to have basic health care, the grocery prices, as we talked about, transportation costs, school costs, all of this going sky high, welfare programs being cut to the bone. All of this then ends up in people not being able to pay their rent, which is also skyrocketing at the same time. And so it is the eviction of families that face financial hardship are one of the most despicable actions that occur under capitalism. And you're seeing, just to share some numbers with you, Clayton County, Georgia, over 92,000 filings of eviction filings in the courts. Bronx County, New York, 200,000 filings. The eviction filing rate in both cases was nearly 40% in 2025. Many counties in South Carolina, since Hurricane Helene, in Maricopa County, Arizona, over 320,000 filings. I mean, it's just insane the number of evictions that we have. But the reason it all connects to everything that we are talking about here is that if you see what happened since the 2008 Great Recession, which also you mentioned, that more and more rental housing has moved into the hands of what's called private equity, which in other words just means Wall Street, big guys on Wall Street, the big mutual fund type of organizations that basically are they're just parasites. They don't actually produce anything in the economy. They just parasite off of the misery
Yep.
of working people. Why this is all important? Because the data is just brutal. Large landlords filed evictions 186% more often than small landlords. Medium landlords, which is also smaller corporations, but are still again then in turn owned by the big Wall Street guys. Medium landlords filed eviction filings 55% more than small landlords. So this is absolutely the what you can call the Wall Street takeover of the housing industry. And you know why this is important? Because a big section of what this change that happened, where big corporations like Essex Property Trust, Greystar, Blackstone, all of these corporations, why they ended up owning all this rental property, is to the 2008 Great Recession, when both under George W. Bush and under Barack Obama, the so-called bailout was never a bailout for ordinary people. It was a bailout of the same billionaires and multimillionaires that carried out, that caused the Great Recession. And then it was again another robbery where all these foreclosed properties were taken into control by these big guys because of the help of the Democrats and Republicans. And now that's also a big part of why rents are skyrocketing. And the reason I mentioned that is that it's directly connected with our election, because Adam Smith, this 29-year incumbent that I'm running against, he was one of the Democrats who voted under both Bush and Obama to bail out the big banks, leaving leaving ordinary people in the lurch. So this is billionaire's guy. This is Mr. Billionaire that we are trying to defeat.
Yeah, of course. This is the unraveling of our system. Like in the United States, I was looking up now as you were speaking, they have and they're just according to a quick estimate. They said there's nearly 14 million children in the United States who live in households that are food insecure. That's the way they like to shine it up. You mean they're starving? You mean they're not able to? They're food insecure. And I saw this earlier. I was in preparation of making my hotspot video. This is what's going on in the UK. Speaking about how the military is draining working classes all across the West. Like it's an imperial structure That's what I was explaining earlier. That's why it's important for us. If we overthrew the capitalist structure in America, you know how much that will open up the UK left. Like, you guys understand the dominoes effect that will have on our society. That is what is our responsibility. Because look at how capitalist dictatorship is destroying the people in the UK, and that now all over European countries, including the UK, they are implementing mass austerity in order to fund the military more. And Mark Rutte, Donald Trump, all these neocons, including the entirety of the mainstream European liberals who support war against Russia. You know, like the progressive Democrats, every single one of them, they support this war against Russia, which is leading to mass austerity, which is harming the working classes in Europe. And you will see not a single one. We're gonna get to the NATO left very soon. Trust me. I was saving that for near the end because that's gonna be good. Because the NATO left, who I oppose, they are responsible for this policy of austerity spreading throughout Europe by supporting NATO and militarism in the guise of fighting Russia. Now, this is an article about the UK and their food insecurity. You guys know, and this is a whopping, insane number. They talking about how this headline essentially is them explaining how people in the UK, they have to eat goy slop now. You as a worker, you don't have any right to a nutritious, well-balanced diet. Just eat your gruel and be happy. This number is insane. 28% of adults in the UK said they stopped eating meat altogether or cut back significantly to save money. The meat and good nutritious food is only for the privileged. This is the receipt I mentioned earlier, the great wealth transfer. And the result of all this is a new blooming class consciousness that is spreading up all throughout the West. Even people who are not, and I'm telling you guys, people in my family tell me this all the time. People who are not political, they have a strong will, and they want to wage class warfare against the corrupt bastards who stole the American dream from us, for a lack of a better term, who stole our future from us. It's our job to organize them to do that. And this is why I want to get your thoughts on this story before we move on. That's why this is why we're seeing the capitalist class panic. This is why you see the Trump administration, and this was started under the Biden administration. Don't get it twisted. I was one of the few channels who covered how Biden labeled anti-capitalists as domestic terrorists. I'm pretty sure we might have covered that shot, but but Biden labeled socialists as potential domestic terrorists, and now Donald Trump is doing that and ramping it up to a 10, like all Republicans they're designed to do. So here's Marco Rubio. I'm not going to play the clip, but I want to get your thoughts on this Red Scare. I've been asked a lot about this. Like, here in the United States, the share of left-wing terrorist attacks plots has risen to levels not seen in decades. This is the narrative they're using to push this new agenda for a new era of McCarthyism. House Speaker Mike Johnson says the Pentagon is requesting $350 billion for fighting communism on our own shores. So, Kshama, to me, when I see this, I'm like, this is advanced money laundering if I ever seen it.
And seriously, and it also reflects exactly what you were saying earlier, that people are waking up to the reality and consciousness is shifting by leaps and bounds. And one of the most important metrics of how consciousness has shifted dramatically is the mass opposition, the majority opposition to the war funding for Israel and against the genocide in Gaza. I mean, in the whole nearly 80-year existence of the State of Israel, which, by the way, as we know, the State of Israel came into existence itself as part of the imperialist and capitalist project. The creation of the Israeli state itself was part of that. But for the first time in that history, has the majority of the American working class spoken up and said, we oppose this, the majority of them. I mean, this is huge. And this, Nick, this is, as we know, this is scary to the capitalist class. The capitalist class really, really fears the organized force of the mass of the working class. That's what they fear. And so it is no surprise that they have to do this type of fear mongering. And you were correct to remind us that Biden was demonizing anti-war protesters, and so was Adam Smith, my opponent. Adam Smith
Yep.
called anti-war protesters left-wing
that's right.
fascists and demanded that we be arrested. He has been absolutely vicious towards anti-war protesters, and he still continues demonizing them. He is, sort of his approach to criticizing protesters and demonizing protesters is if you kept a hand on that part where you see his name, it could sound like Marco Rubio. In other words,
Yeah.
this is a common agenda. It's a bipartisan agenda between the Democrats and Republicans. And in fact, just to share with you, maybe I shared this with you before, Nick, but he was speaking to a right-wing commentator in December of 2024. This is after Kamala Harris had lost. And as we know, Kamala Harris lost because she refused to stand against a genocide and refused to do anything about the cost of living crisis. And just tens of millions of people just refused to vote at all. Like, it's not that they voted for Trump. They just didn't vote at all because they're so angry at both parties. And then he was offering his analysis of why Kamala Harris lost. And you know what his analysis was that the Democratic Party has gone too left. It has gone too woke, too sympathetic to socialism and all of that. And there was a commentator, a Republican voter, very right-wing person who was watching that show, and she said, well, wow, this guy's a Democrat. He sounds more Republican than Republicans do. And that's exactly right. That really captures in one sentence the essence of Adam Smith and the Democratic Party, actually.
Hey, Kshama, let me tell you, they're terrified of you, my friend, because you guys know, I'll show you guys a lot of segments from these neocons and corporate media as a propaganda watch and to help people break down propaganda. Bro, I swear to God, I have never seen Adam Smith featured so much on like MS Now. Like, I know it may be like the GTA car effect, which because I'm looking out for him, I may see him more now. You know how like if you get like a car, you see that car more often when you drive. I don't know if it's that mechanism, but I swear I see this man everywhere now. He's on Morning Joe all the time. They're very carefully trying to raise his public profile because they feel the heat coming from Kshama Sawant. And let me explain to you guys, every segment I see from this guy, he is saying the most deranged shit that you're gonna hear on that in the next day or so, no matter what the topic is. And now because Kshama is putting so much pressure on his campaign, he's now trying to do this pivot where he's trying to pretend that I have criticism of the Netanyahu government. Like he's now doing that thing. And guess who is helping launder his reputation? Cenk Uygur, the gatekeeper class. Now let's get to this part right here because I think this is very revealing. I called this nearly a year ago. I'm like, man, Kshama's election is so important. And I explained like this, and you explained it will be the first time we will have an independent socialist. Like, can you guys imagine someone a congressional seat where RBN will have any sort of influence on? Like, we have events, or we like together. Like, can you imagine? That would never happen with a Democrat. And you have Adam Smith, who called pro-Palestine protesters fascist. He's the one who signed on the bill to merge the Israeli militaries. He's the ones I've seen him on MSNBC, and I might show you guys more of him because I see him all the time now. I'll be watching him because I want to see what he be saying. He justify Israel assault in Lebanon all the time. He'd be like the Iranian regime. He's like one of the most deranged Democrats. Well, he's an average Democrat. He's pretty crazy. Like this is what neocon Democrats are. And in this moment of anti-genocide movement being created, and we have an independent socialist anti-Zionist candidate running, you would think that this would be an amazing opportunity to quote unquote unite the left, right? You would think that. And the reason why I say Kshama Sawant election was important, just another reason, because it's going to expose these gatekeepers like rats in a tunnel when you put a light on them. We're going to see all the rats, all the people who refuse to platform Kshama Sawant. You guys are taking this election off. You guys love elections. No one loves elections more than these people, but they taking this election off as Kshama Sawant is challenging Adam Smith. Not only that, look at Cenk Uygur. I know what you're doing, fam. You're not slick. There's a reason why he sends this tweet out instead of having a conversation with Kshama Sawant, her platform. Look, a top Democrat on the Armed Service Committee, Adam Smith, just flipped, guys. Look, we pushing the party left. Guys, it's working, guys. You guys see what he's choosing to focus on instead of uplifting anti-establishment candidates? This is great news. Ro Khanna did it once again. You know, the guy whose wife and his family invested in the military-industrial complex? The guy who supported and endorsed a genocidal monster like Joe Biden and then Kamala Harris? The guy he acknowledged that there was Nazis in Ukraine. Like, he used to tweet about it, and now he funds Nazis in Ukraine and wants us to ignore it now. This is the guy that Cenk Uygur and the gatekeeping class are propping up. So, Kshama, what's your thoughts? We just started on this because this is very revealing of these people. Cenk Uygur giving a shout out to Adam Smith instead of holding his foot to the fire for even coming up with this idea. He realized that. Remember, Kshama, I texted you immediately when I saw the headline. I was like, dude, this is like a layup for Kshama. The fact that he did this bill with the Republicans, and he realized that now he's backing off, and the gatekeeper class couldn't wait to praise him for that. What's your thoughts, Kshama?
Yeah, I mean, yes, as you said, first of all, Nick, that bill was co-sponsored by Adam Smith. He was not a bystander who decided to vote yes on it. He co-sponsored the bill alongside his Republican counterpart, because keep in mind, Adam Smith is the ranking member in the House Armed Services Committee. So if the Democrats take a majority in the House, he becomes the chair of the House Armed Services Committee. And right now, the Republicans have the majority in the House. So the chair of the House Armed Services Committee is a Republican named Mike Rogers, and Adam Smith is the ranking member. And Mike Rogers and Adam Smith co-sponsored the bill to assign $1 trillion more new dollars for war spending, have a massive escalation of weaponry for Israel, and fusing the US and Israeli militaries. So this was Adam Smith's bill. And so, and that is normal Adam Smith. For that is everyday Adam Smith for you, because that is who he is. He is the guy, he is the general among the warmongers. And it is because of, obviously, it is the Democratic Party establishment is very scared of the whole process through which powerful, seemingly invincible incumbents have been defeated in New York and Colorado. They're afraid of that. But in Adam Smith's case, he's not afraid of a theoretical shift. He's afraid of the specific threat he faces in his race from my campaign. And it is by any objective measure, Nick, by any objective measure, our campaign is the strongest ever by far challenge to Adam Smith. I mean, we have raised $670,000 just in this primary through working class donations, through a median donation of $25. We have check this out. We have 8.5 times more donors than Adam Smith does, because Adam Smith's donors are all, these big shot CEOs and everything. And his median donation is $1,000. Our median donation is $25. And we have thousands upon thousands more donors than he does. And we have raised more than three times just in this primary than any of his challengers have ever raised in both the primary and general election, like through November. So we have just by far orders of magnitude more powerful campaign than any of his challengers ever. But you would not hear a peep from any of these left influencers, so-called left, as Brianna correctly calls them, left establishment. They are the left establishment. Yeah. You would not hear a peep from them. And on the flip side, you see, as you said, Nick, the corporate media is actually featuring Adam Smith a lot more than they used to, because they're afraid. They're afraid of our campaign. But it's even worse than that, right? The Cenk Uygur's tweet shows that not only are these left establishment, progressive, whatever, podcasters and influencers, not only are they invisibilizing my campaign, our campaign, they are actually engaging in dishonesty and sophistry by acting like this one thing that Adam Smith was temporarily forced to back off on is somehow a good deed on his part, or because it was pressure from Ro Khanna. Bullshit. It was entirely because of the existential threat that Adam Smith faces from our campaign. And here you go. All this is classic gatekeeping. This is classic gatekeeping when you pretend, oh, it was because of Ro Khanna. Oh, maybe Adam Smith had a flash of good conscience. Are you fucking kidding me? You know, this guy is one of the last, 5 remaining guys in the House Democrats who voted for the war on Iraq back then. He has voted for tens of billions of dollars for the genocide in Gaza. Nick, we did a calculation in my campaign of the number of times Adam Smith has voted to fund ICE. And our calculation estimate is that he has voted for nearly $115 billion worth of funding for ICE. I mean, this guy is vicious towards the working class, towards the immigrant community. And he is an absolute shill for the billionaires and the war profiteers. And here you have these podcasters acting as if it's, he's just, he's one of the nicer guys and that he's fighting against Trump. It is just such a betrayal of the working class here. It is a betrayal of the working class for them to act like this.
It exposed DSA because DSA is running cover for Adam Smith. That's the reality. DSA has no problem with liberal Zionists like Brad Lander. Brad Lander, you guys realize he quit DSA after October 7th, and then he called the organization anti-Semitic, and they support him, but they refuse to support Kshama Sawant because Kshama Sawant said mean things about AOC. That's their deal breaker. They're willing to allow a genocidal ghoul to win, and the reason why it is so coordinated is because they are, as we explained before, operatives for the Democratic Party. And in this moment where the Democratic Party is massively unpopular and people are organizing around anti-Zionism, I explained it on my show before, their number one job and their number one concern is to prevent an anti-Zionist movement from forming outside of the Democratic Party. And they're doing everything they can to stop that, because if Kshama was to win, it will show that there's an alternative to their entryism strategy. They will never admit it publicly, but they need Kshama to lose. You guys realize, you realize, as we spoke on the show before, the number one threat to a third party movement, and the reason why I'm extremely oppositional to Zohran Mamdani, Hassan Piker, and them, the number one threat to our movement is not the Midas touch. Like, do you think Neera Tanden is our biggest ideological foe who's stopping a third-party movement? No, the biggest threat in a thing that preventing a rise of a third party has been my entire life is the gatekeeping class. They're the ones who say all the good things, but they do everything they can to not legitimize anyone who operates outside the Democratic Party. This is the isolation that we felt at RBN because we were very explicit about that we operate outside the Democratic Party. That's why they don't like us. They make up a lot of excuses, but that is what it is at the end of the day, and that is what it is with Kshama Sawant. Because in the jungle primary, there is zero reason not to root for Kshama Sawant winning. And I didn't dig up this audio, but I'm gonna take Jill Stein at her word for it because she's very honest and trustworthy. But this is because this is something that Ryan Grimm would say, right? I might have to find. I think she quotes it. She actually links it here at 108. But I want you to respond to this because this is the excuses that the people who believe in Democratic Party entryism use to not cover your campaign. Exposes them as bad as their nonsense smears of Joe Stein exposed them. Remember when AOC, Hassan Piker, all of them, in a coordinated way, put out videos saying that Joe Stein is predatory? You know, the anti-Zionist Jew who was brutally arrested protesting genocide. AOC said that she's predatory, but the person who lied to millions and millions of anti-genocide activists that Biden is working tirelessly for a ceasefire, that's not predatory. People leading people to a genocidal capitalist party, that is not predatory, but every single one of them followed the lead of AOC and smearing Joe Stein, and they're now saying the same thing about Kshama. They'll say, well, Kshama Sawant is not serious. This is what Ryan Grimm said. I'll read it to you and I want you to respond. I'm not kind of ranting here. But here's Joe Stein. It's laughable to hear Ryan Grimm say he won't cover Kshama Sawant because she isn't serious and doesn't have a hook and isn't competitive. How is this not gatekeeping for Democrats? Says the reason why he covered Zoran when he was polling 1% is because he had a hook. Interviewing Trumpsters in the street. Meanwhile, Kshama's fight for 15 that kicked off a national movement and her challenge to Adam Smith and someone who actually accomplished things for the working class. I add that as well. That isn't newsworthy. The person who initiated the Israel-U.S. defense tech merger, challenging him isn't newsworthy. That's the excuse that Ryan Grimm gave for not supporting you, even though you're in a juggling primary. So I would love for you to respond to Ryan Grimm saying Kshama isn't serious.
Yeah, I think that position to say that we are not serious, that is, I would say it's not a serious position, but I won't even actually say that, Ryan. I mean, Nick, because I think it is a serious position from a gatekeeping standpoint. They're not fucking around. So when they say these things, there's a reason why they come up with these excuses. I mean, obviously, it's not true that we don't have a hook and all that stuff, as Jill was saying, and I'll come to that in a second. But the reason that people like him, all these gatekeepers, the reason they say things like that is because they have to save face with very genuine people. A lot of genuine people have been asking them, why aren't you featuring this campaign, which has a real shot to get into the November election? Or shouldn't you be helping this campaign? What ordinary people are asking them, and others on the left, like ourselves, what we're asking them is, don't you owe it to the working class? Don't you owe it to the Palestinian people to feature this campaign? Because we have a real shot of getting into the November election. As you said, it's the jungle primary, so I have to be one of the top 2 vote getters to go into the November election. And then if we can make the November election a head-to-head match between us and Adam Smith, like me and Adam Smith. I use the pronoun we and us, obviously, because we are building movements here. It's not about building my own career. But if we can have a head-to-head matchup between me, a revolutionary socialist, and Adam Smith, the general for the warmongers, in November, then it will be absolutely electrifying. And we have a really, we have a historic opportunity not only to defeat Adam Smith, but like I said, elect the first ever revolutionary socialist. And so on the left, obviously there are political disagreements. Of course, I have disagreements with many sections of the left as well. But that's not the issue. The issue is, do you agree with us that we owe it to the Palestinian people and to the American working class to have this fighting chance to elect a revolutionary socialist to the Congress so that we can really shake things up, use my office, if I'm elected, in the same way that I used my city council office, which is not to make backroom deals with the Democrats and Republicans, but to use my office as a vehicle for building movements, that is worth fighting for. And yes, so what if we have disagreements? Let's fight for what we agree on. So that is a very honest argument we have on our part. And the only way that they can challenge that argument is by engaging in dishonesty. They can't honestly say, well, we don't want to feature Kshama's campaign because we don't want to promote revolutionary ideas. We don't want to promote the ideas that are actually anti-establishment. We want to we want the freedom to criticize the Democrats here and there, but we want the freedom to basically follow the Democratic Party and lead people into the dead end. They're not going to say that. That is why they say stuff like that she doesn't have a hook and so on. But really what's going on underneath all of that is the fact that they are giving cover to the political establishment while acting like they are anti-establishment. And that is the definition of gatekeepers. As you said correctly earlier, gatekeepers are people who are leaders, people who have some leadership position, people who have some influence, people who have some power to set the agenda on the left, who appear or sound like they're on the side of the working class, but whose actual agenda is to give cover to the establishment and enable the ruling class to carry out its agenda. That's the role of the gatekeeper. And that's the role of the progressive Democrats. I mean, the progressive Democrats are not there in the Democratic Party to push the Democratic Party to the left. They are there to give cover to the Democratic Party's warmongering agenda. And that is why you have a situation where as more and more squad members, so-called squad members were elected, you also had the Democratic Party preside over a genocide, preside over a cost of living crisis, break the railroad worker strike, with every single House Democrat, every single Democrat except for Rashida Tlaib, and obviously Bernie Sanders, who's technically independent. But except for the two of them, every single Democrat voted to break the railroad workers' strike. I mean, these are strike breakers. Strike breaking is not progressive. It is actually pro-boss. It is perhaps the most pro-boss action that a politician can take, which is breaking a railroad worker strike. Obviously,
Ryan Graham was pretending they was playing 5D chess, remember?
yes, yes, I remember. It was shameful. It was shameful. So it was, as I pointed out at that time, it was a pipeline of cover giving. AOC and the Progressive Democrats giving cover to the corporate agenda, the pro-boss, pro-billionaire agenda of Biden and others, and then all these commentators like Ryan Graham giving cover to the AOCs of this world. And so there's a pipeline of giving cover to everyone, and we have to break that. That's our responsibility, is to point out the truth in the interest of the working class, because I'm not looking to curry favor with any gatekeeper. I'm looking to fight for the working class. And part of my job is to point out gatekeeping when I see it. And that doesn't make me popular with the gatekeepers. Surprise, surprise. They don't like that I point this out. And that is what's really going on, Nick, here. When they say I was mean to AOC, no, I wasn't. I have never made any personalized remarks about any of these leaders. What I have said is the betrayals that they have performed. Like for AOC to go to the DNC floor and say that Kamala Harris was working tirelessly to secure a ceasefire, that was rank dishonesty. It was a lie. She knew that it was a lie, and she said it anyway. Sean Fain, the president of the UAW Auto Workers, also went to the DNC floor and cheerleaded Kamala Harris at that time. And so these things have to be pointed out. We have to point out AOC, for example, just unconditionally endorsed Hakeem Jeffries and called him Leader Jeffries many times. Hakeem Jeffries, the nickname of Hakeem Jeffries is APAC Shakur. He is a black guy, a black politician who gets to use his identity and be one of the instigators of Zionism. We have to call that out. And, I really appreciate Brianna Joy Gray and Sabrina Salwati, both of them calling out Hakeem Jeffries on their podcast, the real role that he's playing. That is important. And so all I've done is point those things out because that's my duty as a revolutionary socialist. But you can see what's happening here. The task that gatekeepers are performing here is they are engaging in character assassination of me, saying that I'm mean, I don't work with anyone, I don't know how to build coalitions. All of these absurd lies that are meant to dissuade people from supporting us. So my appeal to everybody watching this is don't fall for the gatekeeper agenda. Look at our actual record. Don't have to take anybody's words at their face value. Look at the actual record. When people say, when these gatekeepers say, I don't have a path to victory, well, I am the only candidate in this election, not just in my race, but in the entire midterm election, who, only progressive, left candidate, who has won all my elections so far. I ran 4 elections on the Seattle City Council. I won all of them.
But you're not serious, according to Ryan Grant.
I'm not serious, according to him. And one of them, Nick, you remember, one of the elections that I won was against an attempted recall on me by Trump supporting corporate landlords. We defeated that.
What a massive W.
Yes, we defeated that despite the fact that not a single Democratic Party leader or labor leader supported us. We did that because we united working class people. So it's an absurd untruth for gatekeepers to claim that I don't know how to unite people, or I'm not nice, I don't know how to build coalitions. Then who the hell is voting for me all this time? How is it that working people are joining me in the struggles I have led and we actually won? We would not have won the nation's highest minimum wage, which we did win. The Seattle's minimum wage is $21.30 an hour. We would not have won the Amazon tax, defeating Jeff Bezos. We would not have won the Renters' Bill of Rights that we won, which is incomparable to any city. It is absolutely phenomenal. We would not have won any of these had I not understood how to build coalitions, how to build unity, and for people to actually join me because they like what I'm fighting for and they trust me and they have faith in me. And so really at the core of all this, Nick, the question is unity with whom? Absolutely, I fight for unity. But for me, I am adamant about class unity. It has to be unity on the working class. And for building movements that succeed in winning victories for the working class, if you have undying loyalty towards working and oppressed people, that does mean you have to fight against the gatekeepers. That is a job that you have to undertake with a
They
badge
are
of
biggest
honor.
enemy.
It is an honorable task. You cannot stray away from it. You cannot allow these gatekeepers to lead you astray. I mean, there's a reason why this type of personalized attacks and character assassination happen, because it is easy to carry out that type of psychological warfare against one individual and try to tear them down. Because if you look at all these hateful messages that I read against me, it could easily lead you astray. It could easily make you feel like, my God, people are saying such horrible things about me, I should just quit. No, you have to understand, this is class warfare.
Yep.
This is capitalism. And one of the ways in which capitalism helps itself survive, one of the ways in which the capitalist class helps itself survive, is by generating this gatekeeper apparatus. So it's in service of the ruling class. And if we are not clear, if we don't have a class analysis about this, you could easily just give up from those attacks. But we cannot afford to. You know why? Because we owe it to the Palestinian people to fight.
Absolutely.
We owe it to the millions of working people who are struggling in America. We owe it to them. So my loyalty is to them, and I will fight the gatekeepers till the end.
Yeah, people really underestimate how malicious they are and how they are our class enemies. I tell you guys, our number one threat is not the neoliberals. It's the gatekeepers who are stopping the formation of a true third-party revolutionary anti-Zionist working class movement. That is their job. Have you guys noticed? The gatekeepers, they install the mindset that you must mistrust activists. You gotta be aware of the motives of the activists. Like, you can't trust the Green Party, can't trust Kshama, can't trust RBN, can't trust ACP. You can't trust anyone who moves outside of the Democratic Party. Do you guys think that's a coincidence? Do you guys think it's a coincidence that they call people who operate outside the Democratic Party unserious, despite being one of the most serious activists in this country, just by the facts, by someone who has victory? No, it's their job to keep the left pro-war and pro-imperialism. People keep missing this. It was Zoran Mamdani and AOC who joined the AIPAC Zionists, well, AOC in particular, but Zoran did it with the crackdown on protests in synagogues, where they legitimized the anti-Semitism hoax used to crack down on the pro-Palestine protests, where she legitimized the smear of anti-Semitism on the left in these protests. The same way that Progressive Victory, the DSA, and all these progressive Democrats, you guys realize that they had to sign a pledge saying that they will forever support Ukraine and NATO forever. Like, and anyone who refuses to support Ukraine and arm Nazis in Ukraine, they will refuse to endorse you, and they will destroy you. And that includes every single progressive Democrat. Dara Liza was the only one who was critical of the Ukraine war, and they forced her to delete all her tweets where she was saying that we need to advocate for peace. So the job of the gatekeepers is to prevent a peace movement from forming outside of the duopoly and keeping the left pro-NATO. You know the same Ukraine, the same NATO that was responsible for the Nord Stream pipeline bombing, the most devastating environmental disaster in human history, the largest emitting of methane gas, 100,000 metric tons of methane emitted, the largest ever recorded. But the climate activists, they want to support the regime responsible for that. The Ukraine war is leading to massive environmental catastrophe. So you notice how the NATO left had no issue with that. The Ukraine war is leading to massive austerity, even being implemented back at home. But their job is to keep the left pro all of these things that the ruling class, they won't allow them to shift on that. You can say free Palestine, but you better support the fall of Syria. You better smear Iran like Dr. Cornel West did. You got to support the narrative like condemning Venezuela, condemning Cuba. And anyone who does not do this, this is the important part. And these things are not accident. If you do not do this, they will refuse to endorse you like Kshama Sawant. You guys see how it's more than just a social club. It's easy to just now analyze this as, oh well, these are just the rich professional managerial class gatekeeping for the class. No, they're playing a very, very specific role to keep the left pro-NATO, pro-Democratic Party, and keep the revolutionary anger of the working class in check. So, Sean, I'll give you last thought. I'll keep it just over an hour here. Any final thoughts here? Also give you a chance to plug what's going on with your campaign. Anything else you want to add? Because there's so many. You guys not cover the gatekeeping class all the time, and they really expose themselves with the Kshama campaign. The people who choose. Can you imagine? There'd be last time. Can you imagine the potential, the lack of revolutionary imagination of these people is amazing. Can you imagine a third-party movement, third-party candidates, where everyone locked the fuck in? And I'm talking about the people that we consider enemies because this is a hypothetical. This is an alternate reality where the left in the United States actually has their shit together. Can you imagine if everyone from TYT, from Majority Report, from Jimmy Dore, from ACP, from RBN, everyone united behind independent campaigns like Kshama, educated their audience about them. Hey, there's a Green Party candidate running for governor in California named Butch Ware. What did we raise awareness for him? Will we raise awareness for third-party movements? Do you understand how much things would change? The reason why third parties fail is because the gatekeeping class wants them to fail. They said, and the biggest lie they say is, well, and Hassan said this, Crystal Ball said this, and I'm sure every single one of the gatekeepers say this. They said, well, Kshama, hypothetically, if a third-party movement was to spring out of nowhere and it looked like they would win, yeah, I would support it. That's the biggest lie they ever say. Well, I'm not really trying to stop you guys from doing what you want to do. I will actually support you if you was winning. No, where do you guys think these third-party movements come from? It comes from the mass unification of people who acknowledge who the true enemy is. And the gatekeeping class is here to prevent the working class from coming together outside of the power structure that was laid out in front of them. This is why they are the number one threat. And like people like Zoran Mamdani, I admit it, he is the number one threat to what we're trying to do. Hassan Piker, all these sheepdogs are the number one threat to what we're trying to build, which is why we have to be oppositional to them. Sorry for that rant, but that'd be our ending rant. I give you last word, Kshama, and you also get a chance to plug your campaign and that stuff as well. We're definitely going to have you on again very soon. You guys know I'm a big supporter of your campaign. Any final thoughts, Kshama?
Yeah, thank you so much, Nick. Yeah, the primary election is on August 4th. Ballots are out now. So if you are in Washington State's 9th congressional district, which is our district, which if you live anywhere in the south of Seattle, in a city like Kent or Federal Way or parts of Bellevue, just check your ballot and see if you are in congressional district 9. It is very, very important that you vote for this campaign because if we can make it into the general election, if we advance to the November election, then we can really, really absolutely have, as I said, head-to-head combat against Adam Smith and the billionaire class. And really, this whole project, I really agree with what you were saying, Nick. The project of building a third party, or to be specific, a party for the working class, is a project of building massive unity. So don't fall, if you're watching this, don't fall for these talking points from the gatekeepers that somehow this is what we are doing is fringe or isolated or not really uniting the working class. No, actually, it's the exact opposite. We are uniting the working class. But in the process, yes, you end up angering the gatekeepers because their role is to protect the interests of the billionaire class and the political establishment. That's their role. So of course they don't like what we're doing because what we do exposes them. But if you look at what the working class has to gain, then the evidence is there to see. I mean, with one lone socialist office in Seattle, we were able to win unparalleled victories. I mean, just to give a sense, not only did we win the nation's highest minimum wage, because of the movement we built here, that movement for higher wages went nationwide, and tens of millions of workers have won minimum wage increases and other wage increases because of the movement we built here in Seattle through my office. And obviously, tens of thousands of working people and even some left union leaders, many other leaders were part of that. And because we were able to build that unity among the working class and leaders of the working class in Seattle, we were able to win that victory. And because of that victory, nationally, tens of millions of workers have won substantial wage increases that have been a lifeline for them as they get pummeled by cost of living increases. All of this is proof that we know how to build unity, but we ask the critical question, unity with whom? If I was building unity with the Democrats, politicians, and with the gatekeepers, I would be selling out the working class left and right. I
Exactly.
would never have been able to win the victories that we won through my office. And it is the fact that I used my office to build movements that put the spotlight on the politicians, the Democratic politicians, and forced them to vote yes on our bills. That's why they are angry at us, because they don't want to be exposed. But if anybody is telling you that Kshama doesn't know how to win, well, that's a complete lie, because look at the evidence. We have won more victories than hundreds of DSA electeds
That's
put
what they're
together.
afraid of.
That's what they're afraid of. That's exactly right. That's the reason they're opposing us. And that is why I urge everybody to join our campaign. I mean, and I can tell you, Nick, we have just so many campaign volunteers making enormous sacrifices right now because they believe in this campaign, because they believe in the demands we are running on, and because they have seen that we have never sold out the working class. We never quit. We are relentless, and we have undying loyalty to the working class and to oppressed people. They have seen that. That is why they are making sacrifices. I mean, literally, Nick, we have volunteers who are doing canvassing shifts every day of the week. They are setting aside their entire lives because they believe in this campaign. And so, because of that kind of dedication, my campaign has talked to tens of thousands of people on the ground in the district. Our campaign is hugely popular, hugely popular. And do you know what happens? Especially when young people walk by our canvassing table, they refuse to stop as long as they think that I'm a Democrat. They're like, I'm not interested in talking to a Democrat. It's when they are told that I am independent and that I am a socialist and that I have a record of winning victories, that's when they stop and talk to us. So all these gatekeepers who are sitting here and presiding over all this the discussion about how I am mean and I don't build unity and all of that, they are out of touch with the working class. The working class is clamoring for this type of politics. They want a fight back. They are angry that there isn't a fight back, and that's whom we are speaking to. And that is why, tomorrow we are doing a big launch of Get Out the Vote, GOTV rally tomorrow. If you're in the Seattle area, we're going to be meeting at Pratt Park, which is in Seattle's Central District at the corner of 20th and Yesler. And you know something? 500 people have signed up to come to this rally. That's how popular this campaign is. It is. I mean, I don't want to give people the wrong impression. It is an uphill fight because everything we do is an uphill fight, because we are up against the billionaire class, the Democratic Party, the established political establishment as a whole. In fact, the Republican who is in this race openly admitted that he was recruited not to go against Adam Smith, but to keep me out of the November election. So it is, this is a collusion between the Democratic and Republican parties to try and keep me out. You know why? Because they know that their best bet to defeat us is to keep me from entering the November election. Because they know if I enter the November election, that is going to be fucking electrifying. So it's our job to make that November election happen. And that's why we need your help. And I can tell you the demands we are running on are absolutely popular among working people. As you know, we are calling for free healthcare for all funded by taxing the rich. We're calling for an end to all military aid to Israel, for a permanent arms embargo on Israel. We are fighting to shut down ICE and the detention centers and for full citizenship rights for all immigrant community members. We're calling to stop the data centers and the AI-related mass layoffs. We're fighting for a public sector living wage jobs guarantee, also funded by taxing the rich. We're fighting for national rent control and a massive expansion of publicly owned affordable housing. All of these things ordinary people need, and all these are phenomenally popular demands among working class people. And that's why I hope that people who are watching this will join us. Go to kshamasawant.org, my first name, last name.org, sign up. Tomorrow's rally is going to be live streamed. It's at 11 a.m. Pacific time. It's going to be live streamed. No matter where you are, please support our campaign and you can watch the rally on live stream and then immediately go to a phone banking shift. And everything is organized. You will be provided training over Zoom, and then you can participate in phone banking. So I really hope you're all going to join us. We have only a few days left before August 4th. Let's make sure to get out the vote, and let's deliver a blow to the billionaire class.
Can you guys imagine? Can you imagine if Kshama wins his jungle primary and then we get closer to November and then the Democratic establishment sees Adam Smith 53%, Kshama 47%. Like she get closer. Then the next week, Kshama 48%, Adam Smith 52%. It get closer and closer. People start getting excited because they start questioning whether this is possible or not. And then we deliver the massive victory, and we will have an RBN endorsed independent socialist candidate in Congress that will be the record that the squad would never dream to be. Can you imagine RBN in our community having this kind of platform? Our allies like Kshama Sawant having this kind of platform? It will be massive. And that is exactly what the gatekeepers are afraid of. This is a massive, massive opportunity.
Yes, it will be nothing short of a political earthquake. And it's basically the stuff of nightmares for the billionaires and multimillionaires. So I really urge everyone to join us in making their nightmare come true. Let's make their nightmare come true.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, Kshama. Make sure you guys support Kshama. You guys know the RBN family, the RBN crew. We will always have Kshama Sawant support. So make sure you check out her rally tomorrow. I'm going to bring Zoya's love in. Zoya's love. Zoya's life. Once again, thanks for joining us, Kshama. We got to do this again. Very soon. Zoya, are you there, my friend? Going once. Let's read some chats. I can start as we wait for Zoya to get here. I don't know if she's there or not. My life is governed by the demonic sons of Abraham and protected by the blue lying gang and thugs. That's my life. So are you there, my friend?
I'm here. My working class internet is just very slow today.
Always great to have you, my friend. You mind taking over the chats?
Not at all. Great talk with you and Kshama as always. All right, chat. How are you guys doing? Let's get into this. Amanda, ooh, thank you for the $3. Randy Terpestra. Good evening, Nick. Miss Sawant and revolutionary comrades. Was quite the madness from our man-child wannabe king last night. A great performance. Our presidents don't make foreign policy, though.
Yeah.
Trump is here to trigger us. LPQ4PT. Lindsey Graham is homosexual.
Hey, you guys see how Grindr be going crazy during Republican conventions?
7 alien, not anymore. He dead.
What a perfect chat combination that was.
Lee Argent, what's cooking, Nick? Fine weather. Hey, everyone. Jace Hart, Nick is the fire. He's always in the kitchen cooking. Ashura, China Gate. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Dude, I was cracking up watching that speech, dude. And there was like these MAGA accounts who was coordinating with Trump, like, hey, we need the American people to tune in. Donald Trump is about to expose China. Like, bro, you guys think people give a fuck? Remember, Zoya, when I used to cover the pressing polls about how Americans distrust China? Dude, there have been polls coming out over the last year that is extremely heartening. Like that's showing that trend is being completely reversed. Essentially, and I know people get mad when I talk about boomers, but fam, when I tell you that these polls are skewed by boomers, like those polls that show that Americans distrust China, that is largely because of boomers and late Gen X. When you look at the people under 50, nigga, no, we got no beef with Xi Jinping. And we are winning and dominating the battle of ideas. I need people to understand. We are dominating the Epstein class in the battle of ideas, and that's why they have to go towards rank authoritarianism. That's why they got to crack down on internet, push anti-Semitism laws. That's why they got to create a new red scare. And that's when someone asked me about this before, I said, guys, this is just the capitalist class panicking because they see themselves losing control. And that what China Gate is, that what Russia Gate was. These are all distractions and panicking of the ruling class.
Well said, Nick. I can't wait to be called a China puppet, honestly. The Russia puppet thing is getting old. Hey, Lou, the United Snakes of America. I really like that. It's more accurate. On civil unrest, corporations got reparations from illegal tariffs while consumers got nothing. That's because the system's designed to work for them, not us.
Yeah, that's a good way to frame it. Maybe we mentioned how the corporations got reparation from the terrorists. Maybe that will wake up these white suburbanites who are not angry enough because they hate the word reparations. Reparations for Africans? Hell no. Reparations for Iran? Hell no. No one get reparations. So maybe we need to start using that term against them. Shit. Yeah, they paying the corporations reparations, man. You're not mad about that? You guys hate reparations. So what about the reparations to corporations? Well said. And civil unrest.
Ether Blue. China wanted Trump to win. He's the gift that keeps on giving. China
said the same thing. I'm sorry, Zoe. Go ahead. But Putin said the same thing.
I was going to say that they know what U.S. policy is. They know that the U.S. is coming for them no matter who's president. So, and they've been planning for that for decades. And they're moving along with multipolarity, de-dollarization. It takes time. It takes time to topple an empire.
Very well said. I remember Sergei Lavrov was asked about who they wanted to win. It was during the election. I think we probably played this video clip a while ago during the 2024 election. And he's like, bro, I don't give a fuck. Like, bro's gonna do the same damn thing.
Yep.
You gotta know Lavrov, he always keep it 100, bro. He always keep it 2 3. He keep it 100 all the time. Lavrov is one of the greatest statesmen, probably the greatest statesman in the world right now, I think.
Yeah, and he's funny.
Yeah, funny. I wish I could speak Russian. I'm so jealous of you. Like everyone tells me, like the humor of Sergei Lavrov and Putin, you really hear it when you speak their language. Like, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, Russians like that dry, sarcastic humor. Ashura, Rick, he's talking about your interview on Rick Sanchez. Rick called Nick Nickaroo.
Yeah, dude, Rick is a personality, man. That was a fun ass interview. I think I did his show on RT before. Like I did his official show, and he wanted me to do his platform, his podcast spinoff. But yeah, we vibe pretty well. He's a very eccentric dude, and I still can't tell you if he's on the left or right. Like I didn't do a lot of research on him. I was like, all right, let me just see how this conversation goes. I didn't know what to expect, but he's base as hell. I legitimately don't know if he considered himself on the left or right, but he's anti-war, he's anti-establishment, and we got along pretty well. Good for him. We're gonna do another show eventually. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that interview. I encourage everyone to look it up. There's links to it on Nick's timeline on X at Socialist MMA. Pirate Justin, kiss the Great Wall. LOL. I'd rather kiss the Great Wall. Child of God, they went from Russian bots to Chinese actors? Yeah, it's a whole new day. Diabolical Scientist, thank you for the stream, sir. You're very welcome. We appreciate you watching. Whatever, man. That interview with Rick was straight fire. Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed it. It seemed really comfortable, and they had great chemistry. And I also couldn't tell if Rick was on the right or left. He seemed like a conservative that has his priorities straight.
Yeah, 100%. I like people who are good at maintaining conversations. You guys can see I have good chemistry with them. People forget I used to sell cards, bro. Like I can hold a conversation. I had no idea what to expect in our interview at all, but he was super friendly, conversational, and we were just bouncing ideas off each other. That's my preferred format.
That's how it should be, honestly. So great work, both of you. Violin, data centers will take your electricity and water. Couldn't possibly be that, though. You know, guys, data centers don't even require water. They can create a closed loop system, which other data centers do, and they don't use any excess water. So the establishment is doing this for nefarious reasons. It is a little cheaper, and of course, it's all about the profit. But I feel like they're draining America's water aquifers for much more nefarious reasons.
Absolutely. I told you guys, Zoe is smart as hell, man. Zoe is so fucking smart. I didn't know that about the data centers, that they didn't need water. I always learn new stuff from Zoya.
That's what I'm here for. That's what communists really do.
Yeah.
Child of God, watch. People are going to start calling other people Chinese actors. It's coming. Eric Beamhoft.
I'm sorry, but Zoya, I just want to say, God, I lost count of how many foreign states are paying me, apparently. Like, I've been accused of being an actor for Iran, paid actor for China, paid actor for Russia. Someone accused me of being an agent of DPRK because, bro, I've been accused of everything under the sun. The thing is, like, the best thing is that weapon is not as effective anymore. Like, if anything, it makes you look better when you're accused of being a Putin puppet or China bot or whatever. I'm against the Epstein regime. That's what I'm against.
Yep. Eric Bernhoft. China's AI is so much cheaper, and they're doing that on purpose. One, to serve the working class, and two, to undercut America's top investment right now. China is smart, guys. You know, they're not doing the military strategy because they're undermining US through global means, through peaceful global means. Aether Blue. At least China is starting to put their data centers in the ocean for water and cooling, not next to my drinking water. Yeah, China does things the effective communist way. Violin, fake elections for all. Oh, how nice of you. Violin, the US economy needs to be demilitarized. This is why, absolutely. But who's going to demilitarize it until we rise up and take power? Fei Lu, everything your media and government told you about China is false. Yeah, that's pretty much a great place to start. If like you're new here.
It hasn't failed me yet, man. I'm telling you, it hasn't failed me yet.
Like if you read a headline, China's economy collapsing, assume it's doing great.
Whenever I'm unsure about what's going on in a geopolitical event, I watch Morning Joe and see what they say about it. Like whatever Joe Scarborough, whatever Anderson Cooper, Jake Tapper, whatever these people say about an issue, you can assume the exact opposite is true. And that guide has worked very well in my time as a geopolitical analyst.
Pirate Justin, thank you for the $2. I'm one of the people who didn't vote in protest. Can't blame you. Victor, tell him, Nick. Molotov for you. Those of us living in the belly of the beast have an enormous responsibility to the rest of the world to dismantle this oppressive shit. Absolutely. That right there is the chat. JB Joints, brother. What up, Nick? FHL is life. Since the FHL days. Justice. Abelardo de la Espriella, if I'm mispronouncing it, correct me in the chat, is a highly controversial Colombian defense lawyer, businessman, and the president-elect of Colombia who built his career representing figures tied to drug trafficking. Just the way the US likes them. Lorshak Mose, Russia has taken the last fortress on the road to the Dnieper. Cheers. Slow and steady wins the race. Lee Argent, it's pissing me off. The cost of living is waking people up and not their morality. Marxism predicts that. I mean, it's always class war. Your material conditions are going to trump your feelings. We are the exploited class. People are tired. They're miseducated, misinformed. They don't think they have options, and they're busy surviving. So we're not here to punch down at the working class. But as these contradictions heighten, as the economy worsens, this is our time, actually. This is our time to educate and motivate people.
Very well said. Zoe is love. Zoe is life. And one of the biggest lies people say, like I heard the Sam Piker. I don't have time to ever break down his videos. It's not worth my time. But he had a video where he was explaining why he doesn't take a principled anti-imperialist position. He like, we got to meet the American people where they are. They're not ready for an anti-imperialist message. It's like, you fucking loser. Fam, I talk to people all the time. I was on the Bernie campaign saying shit I probably shouldn't have been saying. Like, while I will win ordinary people over against the empire by appealing to their material interests. There was so many people who didn't know how much we were spending on our military. You know how many normies, you know how many ordinary people in my family who don't follow geopolitics, who was turned off from the system when I'm like, hey man, you know they're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, and I'll be like, why don't we use that to fix our street? And they'd be like, yeah, why don't they use that to fix our street? And I'm talking about normies. That's the kind of stuff you say to normies. And I oppose the empire because I oppose our taxpayer money being used to murder people on a moral reason. But the reality is, if you explain how the empire is hollowing out our communities and the money that we spend overseas or the money that they can have invested in their community, that I swear to God, Zoe, you know, anyone who actually talks to people know that shit is a winning message. Like that shit wins on people on the right. I live in Missouri. I'll talk to people with white, so everyone agrees on that message. So this thing that the gatekeeper class say, where they like, well, we can't talk about empire because that you will lose the American people. You can't talk about foreign policy because that will lose the American people. That is a bullshit. That is the biggest bullshit. That is like that people believe for some reason. Oh, you can't talk about geopolitics with ordinary people. I do it all the time, fam. All the time.
Yeah, it's just gaslighting from the establishment. Talking to real people is very easy. Most of them hate the government. Most of them are unhappy with the job that Congress is doing. It has a 13% approval rating. You have more in common with people around you than they want you to think. And we should be able to talk to each other beyond the political labels that they invented for us. Justice Alex Saab, he legally represented this Colombian Venezuelan businessman. He was extradited to and detained in the United States under charges of laundering hundreds of millions of dollars. Chairman Meow, I can't afford shit at the grocery store. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. People are hurting more and more. I mean, Dollar Tree isn't even a dollar anymore. So people are really suffering. And this is our time when we can show up for people. And like Lenin always said, not to talk down to people, not to talk down to illiterate peasants who never read theory, but to show up and show them what communists do. Show them, like Black Panthers were showing people, that if the government isn't going to feed us, that we're going to show up with a breakfast program. We're going to start our own clinics. This is what communism is. Eventually, we have to get offline and get into our communities and do the work. Holding you guys accountable today. Sal Good, as long as you show up for people, they'll show up for you. Absolutely.
Zoe in the lab cooking tonight. She fired up, huh?
I missed last episode, so you know, a lot was pent up. Violin, military grade propaganda is global. Its effects on people's ideas and critical thinking capacity cannot be overstated. Absolutely. It's easy to be mad at people, but can we teach them? Russian Wilson, it angers me that the DSA refuses to support Sawant. It really shows their true purpose.
Yep.
Always has been, guys. But I'm glad more people are seeing it. And by the way, there's no chance of a Republican winning that election. So they can't use their usual boogeyman that, you know, if you run, you split the vote, you can't run outside the party. There's no chance of a Republican winning. So there's no logical reason not to support Kshama Sawant when she has a great progressive platform that they all pretend to support. It's pissing me off too. Lorshak Molse, Westerners are so hyper individualized, no collective intelligence, but big opinions. It's true. It's true. We have to self criticize. That's how we evolve.
Let me tell you the real reason why China doesn't have real socialism. That DSA fan 01 who haven't accomplished a damn thing. Hey, I've been a member of DSA for 4 years, Zoya. Let me tell you why the Soviet Union didn't achieve enough. You guys got a lot of damn opinions. A lot of damn opinions.
Mm-hmm. Kinko, it's years and years of propaganda against solidarity in the working class. Yeah, that's why the first thing you can do is have solidarity, grow solidarity, develop solidarity. That's anti-imperialism. That's anti-capitalism. It's all good. Deep pockets can make money in a crash. Yeah, the rich always win. It's a rigged game. So no matter what happens, whether the economy crashes or not, some of this reporting is always like, Trump is in trouble or these corporations are in trouble. But actually, no matter what, they make money. Whether they win a war, they lose a war, it doesn't matter to them. Truth above all. COVID heist was the largest transfer. Yeah, every transfer is the largest transfer. They're always setting records.
Oh, wait till the next one, fam.
Mm-hmm.
You think the last one was bad? Wait till what's coming. I'm not one of those. There's a lot of people who are good at like discussing financial markets in the future. I'm not as good as that as I am covering anti-imperialism, but I heard a lot of people talking about how like the next crash, bro, especially what was going on with Iran, the global destabilization was going on, the Ukraine war. Bro, the next crash is going to be devastating, and that's why they are preparing the police state. They already preparing for the social upheaval that will cause, bro. They have no plan, fam, and they just plan on creating a police state and killing anyone who's really upset about it. That's their only plan.
Yep. Violin, taxpayers against genocide. If you earn enough to pay taxes, which most do not. So I guess that's a group you can join. That sounds like a interesting bipartisan movement. Colby Seller, the left should support no tax on incomes below 100,000, starve the war machine. We have no power to implement these policies. So when people are talking about tax the rich, it's either going to come down to French Revolution style tactics or they have power over us.
Yeah.
Right now, we can leverage our labor until AI takes over. We can shut the system down with a general strike, but we're not getting the rich who control Congress to tax themselves.
To be, I'm not even for taxing the rich until we take power. Because let's say hypothetically we start taxing the rich, they're gonna just send more money to Ukraine. They're just gonna spend down the empire. Like tax the rich for what? This is what Michael Prenti was saying. Like we want to see the mean of production. If we are taxing the rich in the empire, what does that mean? You think they're gonna come with more social programs? No, I think that will lead to more expansion of the war machine, the more militarization. We need a true working class movement first and foremost. That's why it's easy for like these elected Democrats to say, "Oh, I'm gonna just tax the rich." Like there's no institution for any sort of tax the rich program that would benefit the working class. And these are things like Michael Prenti and a lot of Marxist thinkers been saying. Like we gotta go beyond just tax the rich. That's more of like it's an incomplete reform. If we tax the rich right now, they're not going to lead to massive welfare spending. That's going to lead to the increased police state. They're going to lead to increased imperialism. But go ahead, Zoe. There's a think piece to be written about that. I need to explore that a little bit more.
Well, the income tax used to be illegal about a century ago. So it started with taxing the rich, and then the rich passed loopholes by buying politicians, and now we're the only ones being taxed. Like Palantir pays zero taxes, guys. It's really sickening. Lorshek Molse, there is no middle class, only slaves getting paid higher. But they're so willing to sell out the people who are getting paid less just for a sense of superiority over their own working class. Mr. Blamo, These tiny elections won't change anything. You need to reach deeper Americans. On one hand, you're right, but I will say that the minimum wage reforms and other things that Kshama accomplished while she was in office, even just in the city council, impacted nationwide movements. Other counties followed, started raising their minimum wages, and we've seen a general minimum wage increase afterwards. So for people trying to survive right now, while we don't have a revolution, these things do matter.
And hypothetically, if we was to get a few independents like Kshama Sawant, they could do what the squad said they was gonna do. Imagine if we just had a handful of independent Congress people who could shut an NDA down. Like this is one tool we can use. It's not a tool that we should heavily rely on, but it is a tool nonetheless in a way that we can rally and motivate workers to engage in class consciousness. That's what I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, why not? We have nothing to lose. Just checking a box is not that difficult. So, like every election, I vote for the Green Party. It's not because I have false hope in this system, but meanwhile, just for damage control without any illusions, I check the box. It's a pay cost analysis, but we can't have any illusions that we're gonna vote out our oppressors. Violin, when it booms, the workers pay for it. When it busts, the workers pay for it. Yep. Justice. Capitalism needs a major war every 7 years. Yeah, they're accelerating now because all of their Ponzi schemes are reaching their limits. Truth above all, 400 richest Americans made $4.5 trillion in COVID. Do you guys know how crazy that is? How much money that is? We could solve world hunger, homelessness, like multiple times over.
And people think that money just comes out of thin air, bro. Where you guys think this is coming from? That's stolen labor value. That's what the liberals who don't believe in the theory of labor value. That's what they believe. They believe that Elon Musk and all these billionaires, they develop their wealth and it spawns out of thin air. At the same time, they would call the workers low skilled. They look at these low skilled workers who are responsible for record breaking profit for their boss. Does that show that they have value? If you're making your boss that rich, that is value that you're providing them. And they make profit by three ways: by reducing production, passing costs on consumers, and stealing it from workers. This is the basic theory of labor value that liberals don't acknowledge. So once you can no longer can cut production costs, in fact, many of the capitalists increase production costs so they can make more profit. Once you max how much you can charge consumers, what's next? That means you have to steal from workers. That's why the working class under capitalism will always be exploited in their pursuit of never-ending profit, if that makes sense. Zoe got me motivated to spit a little bit later this
Yeah. I'm going to read a Karl Marx quote. The accumulation of wealth is accompanied by the accumulation of poverty and oppression. So we're in a closed loop system. All of this money they're taking from us, that means those crumbling bridges. That means no health care for you. That means schools being defunded. So all of this money, it comes out from working class interests, just like Nick was saying. Ram Q1Q3H. Oh, I had no idea the settler destroying my village was working class. Nick, please ask Kshama why she thinks we should support the working class in so-called Israel, please. That's not exactly what she said. I saw that clip when Sabi was interviewing her. But all I will say is that, unfortunately, occupied Palestine right now, there's 21% of the population that's Arabs living inside of Israel. So this is part of the problem with sanctioning anybody. That's kind of the American tactic, to sanction populations so they rise up against their government. But unfortunately, when we do that, we hurt millions of people who don't deserve it, because the Arab population is 2.1 million last time I looked it up. So it's a difficult question. I saw Kshama being called out on it. I'm not sure she clarified her position. She is a Trotskyist, and we take a slightly different position on resistance and all of this, but that is something to consider.
Yeah, we actually talked about this before. Like me and Shama, we've been very open about what we disagree with each other about. We discussed it on our show. The biggest difference between like more of a Trotskyist thinker is versus us, a more of an ML thinker, is that Trotskyists, they tend to view every single member of the quote unquote working class as the same. Meanwhile, MLs, we be like, you got to understand that there's diaspora class traders. There are also the recognition that settlers cannot inherently be working class. Like it. So I don't. Once again, these are things that me and Shama disagree with. I talked to her about this before. Like I don't think anyone should be calling the Israeli the working class. There's no such thing as the Israeli working class. Like they are settlers, and that's why I don't. And they did do the same with Russia as well, where they were like, well, don't you know that Putin has a resistance? Like, what about the working class in Russia who supports Putin? Like they feel like no matter what the dynamics in terms of the conflicts with the empire, the class dynamics, they always like almost instinctively take the side of rebellions, even if it comes from reactionary forces. Like these are the same people who kind of supported the Hong Kong protest, even though they were calling for privatization. Like that's another example. Like not every member of the working class is the exact same. And it's through studying class antagonism and revolution that where we make these distinctions. And that's why I'm like, anything that we can do to hold these Israeli settlers accountable, I'm all for. But the point about the Arabs is also an important point. All these issues are not just black and white. These are very important issues that we should be talking about as well. I wish I had time to talk about it. You guys see, I actually cut a few good things from what I wanted to discuss. Iran. There's so many things I wanted to discuss, but we actually had to cut time because I wanted to keep our interview only an hour. But we probably discuss these things more in the future. Me and Shama, we're not afraid to talk about things we disagree with because we have done that before.
Exactly. And that's what I love about Kshama. She's always willing to talk with us on stream, off stream, and she takes feedback. So these are people we can be in community with. Bryce Smith, what up, Nick? Hey again, Kshama. Lorshak, but Nick, the Hologramador. Yeah, that's for those who don't know, the Holodomor is this made up thing by the CIA that the USSR was starving Ukrainians on purpose, and they call it a genocide and all of these crazy things. The reality is that post World War II, look at how supply chains got broken after COVID. Now, World War II went on for much longer and was an actual war. After that, you had starvation everywhere, including inside of Russia itself. And of course, millions died. It was horrible. It was a worldwide famine. But in Ukraine, they try to pretend it was Ukraine specific and done deliberately and frame it as if the USSR was genocidal. So that's the great Holodomor.
Yeah, they did the same thing with Mao. Like they say Mao is responsible for. Don't you know he mismanaged China and led to a massive famine? That was right after China had tens of millions of people who was murdered by Imperial Japan, and a global famine, an economic collapse, and a global blockade. Think about what, and then you had the massive drought that occurred. You had a drought. You had tens of millions of Chinese workers out of the society. You had all these factors, and they still rebounded in record time, only in a few years, and ended the historical precedent of Chinese famine, which is regular. And then they will then turn around and say, well, don't you know that Mao is responsible for a famine that killed millions and millions of people? Okay, it was only like 3% of the population, considering it was China for one, which is actually lower than most Chinese famines. Like I did a lot of reading about this. It was lower than most Chinese famines, including the famines that the UK was responsible for when they governed China. Like when the UK governed China, they average a famine every single year. Mao had that one famine that came due to countless circumstances, like the fallout of a global war, a massive historic drought, losing millions of their people, an international blockade, and then they immediately recovered. But to this day, you would say, well, don't you know Mao purposely starved his own people? It's the amount of work that we have to do to deprogram people is overwhelming because there's still people who believe these lies. You know what an example of someone starving someone? The UK engaging in mass starvation of the Irish population. That is an example of forced starvation. Not Mao being unable to manage these collection of catastrophes and then immediately rebounding afterwards. But anyway, everything you heard about Soviet Union, revolutionary China, I learned as I get older, everything they tell you is a lie. Everything.
And if you ever need to debunk this for anyone that's gaslighting you with bread lines and everything else, you can tell them that Western studies showed that Soviet citizens were consuming just as many calories as American citizens, but it was higher quality food.
Yep. In the UK, they're not eating meat. Meanwhile, bro, in China, they are producing absolute units, bro. Like, bro, they're eating so good. Have you guys seen, like, bro, their stature has increased, and it happened under Mao too, where they had a great stature increase due to the increased nutrition of the workers. Meanwhile, there's mass malnutrition in the West. Isn't it funny how they said socialism is supposed to lead to malnutrition? Yeah.
Exactly.
Let me read this comment real quick. I think this is a good one. Don't forget the English causing a famine in Bengal, Nick. Yeah, absolutely.
I was just going to bring that up. I just posted about it the other day. India, and if we started listing British famines, we would need another half hour.
Yeah.
A man with long last name. You will own nothing and be happy. Yeah, that's what they want us to think. But the future belongs to us. Eno, the dark one. Kshama. Violin. Great that the peasants finally figured out that the 1% are united against them, hopefully. It's happening. Class consciousness is rising as people are getting crushed by the system. It's all good. Obama crushed Occupy and DAPL. Yeah, never forget. Obama dropped a bomb, I think 41 bombs every day that he was in office.
Yeah.
Yeah, great guy.
And regarding turning American people or educating them on empire, dude, you guys realize how many black people are turned against Obama by mentioning the fact that he was a drone strike king? Like, that's unthinkable according to the liberal mind. But I have done it. Like, no one, my family don't fuck with Obama no more. You know, because they hear my criticism of him. I was that guy who hated Obama. That's what I was before I had a platform. They're like, I'm that black guy who hate. And whenever people ask me why, I'm like, hey, you know, Obama just bombed the hospital. You know, he bombed Doctors Without Borders. You know, he's bombing Africa. And then whenever I bring it up to the quote unquote normies that people tell you don't care about geopolitics, they always be like, hold up, that's fucked up. I didn't know that, bro. That was always their reaction. So whenever you talk about Obama, never let people forget his legacy of mass murder. That should be what we always should lead with.
Exactly. Violin. They called Antifa, wait for it, fascist. Can't even make this shit up. Yeah, they're trying to make us live in like a post-truth reality. Joseph Massey, thank you for the $4.99 super sticker. Bryce Smith, don't forget to hit the like button. Yes, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell because YouTube hates us.
Yeah, big shout out to the homie Bryce. Big shout out to him.
Lorshak Mose, in China, 98.5% of workers don't pay any income tax. Oh, almost like communism solved that problem.
Yep.
There's just too much winning. I can't. That's why they're hating on China.
Yeah.
Queer Black Socialista. Kshama.
Yeah, Kshama was great tonight.
Garlic lasagna, Kshama and Nick. Yes, exactly. It's been a while. I'm glad that you came on. Sean Rockers TV, thank you for the $5. I wouldn't be surprised if Adam Smith pulled what Gavin Newsom pulled if a fire broke out in Seattle and prioritized and even instead of the people. Gavin Newsom bailed out the corporations, basically. Adam Smith is terrible and would definitely do whatever's anti-worker and pro-corporation. And for our last chat, Marvin Vargas, thank you for the $2. Zio two-party system, recycle fears, hate for distractions. Yes, that's why we have to stay focused on our goals for the working class. And that does it for us today. What a nice long show. And we really got into your guys' comments, which I love interacting with all of you. Remember that Nick at Night is almost every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Sometimes
Honestly, I've been doing more of a Tuesday. I honestly been shifting more of a Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday schedule. But and I'm doing more of a Sunday, Tuesday, Friday recently. But so the last schedule, like Monday, hasn't been working recently, working well for me recently. So more I do Sunday with Jamal, and then Tuesday, Friday, and I might throw in an extra show depending on the guest or whatever. Because I had Sarah scheduled for Tuesday night, so I won't be live this Monday, and I have Sarah join me on Tuesday, and then I'll be on the road because they had the Green Party National Convention next week. So I might stream in Chicago with Rome maybe on Friday or so. We'll see. Next week's gonna be a little bit crazy. I've been playing around with my schedule a bit recently to trying to accommodate some guests. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is hard, but we see. I might get back to that soon, but there've been a few schedule changes.
Yeah, we'll keep you guys posted. And Nick's been doing a lot of interviews on other shows as well. So follow him on Twitter, and you will always get the posts to the links, even if we have to do it earlier because it's an international guest. And we'll let you guys know if we come up with a better permanent schedule. I know people like consistency, so you guys don't miss the shows. Yeah. And a reminder about Bonfire. We are selling merch with 100% going to Gaza funds. You can donate to Gaza funds directly yourself, or you can buy anti-imperialist merch on Bonfire. Just look for Revolutionary Blackout Network, and the description also has a link. And make sure to follow us on all platforms, Kick, Twitch, Telegram, as well as Twitter, because we never know how much time we have on YouTube.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do a stream with Rome on the RBN channel. I've been focusing mostly because like this is the RBN channel, and then we had the RBN main channel. The RBN main channel is Rome's. I essentially gave that account to Rome, by the way. I said, "Hey, Rome, you can have this account. You're the CEO. You're the head of RBN." And this channel is like this side RBN channel as well. But we're gonna do Nick and Rome on the RBN channel eventually. And I'm sure we might stream in Chicago. I think Rome gonna be down there as well. And I'm doing a media panel. Brianna Joy Gradib is gonna host a panel with me, Jill Stein, Butch Ware, Medea Benjamin. And there are like two other labor people. I don't know their name on top of my head. So there's like two labor people. And I'm forgetting somebody. Either way, the point is it's a banger panel I'm doing Friday. I think it's gonna be aired. We will see. So I'll be in Chicago next week, and we might do a stream in Chicago. We will see. We got a lot going on. Also, there's the Marxist Summit with the homies at Midwestern Marx ACP, and they're inviting a ton of Marxists in September in Chicago. I'm gonna be there. A lot going on. Yeah, we gotta organize each other. Yes, I'm going to the Green Party Summit. I'm helping Kshama Sawant, who will also be calling in. Oh yeah, Kshama gonna be calling in virtually on that media panel as well. So whether it's Kshama Sawant, Green Party, ACP, if you are anti-capitalist, anti-Zionist, anti-imperialist, RBN, we want to build something with you. That's how we're moving from now on. So we got a lot going on. Also, I have an email for people who want to help RBN, and we will have members who will be like that we want to add here soon. So I'm gonna get back to you guys in email. I've been super busy. I'm sorry if I didn't get back to you yet. But we will want to add extra help and extra labor here soon. But I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll be back on Tuesday. I'm super excited because Sarah from DDG, she has been killing it. She's been killing it in Iran. Her reporting, I'm super proud of her. I was about to go. You guys know I was about to go with Sarah to Iran, but I didn't have my damn passport. I had to get my passport issues fixed, and it was super short notice. I'm like, damn. I might go. I got the good news is I got someone in Tehran now, so I'm that Tehran visit, especially since I'm gonna have my passport in the mail here soon. That's gonna happen soon. Our trip to China is gonna happen soon because we got people in Tehran, we got people in China, we got people in Moscow, Zoya. We about to be all over the place. But I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Make sure you support the channel. Have a good rest of your night, guys.